Morning. How's everyone today? Please check the show notes. And if you're new to me, especially, the show notes have a bunch of star bullets that have all the official places you should be going to get help if you are new as a seller. Good morning. So, what, Jen? How are you today? All right. Happy Thursday. I can't believe it's Thursday already. It's been a busy week. Sorry, there's a glare from my overhead light. Let's see if I can. It's a little bit cloudy outside, so there's a glare from that. Welcome in. Thanks for joining. Let me see if I move this a little bit. I guess that's only on that one thing. All right. What's everyone got going on this week? How are you doing? How are shows going? What do you have questions about? Just put your questions in chat if you have any. So I did get back from the Whatnot Seller Summit a big summary of all the classes, and I've looked at a few things, but I've just been so busy. I haven't had time to go through all of them. So I'm still working on that. But, lots of good information, lots of good things were shared. And my takeaway, I didn't get to attend every class because they had too many that you could attend and you couldn't, there was no way to get to all of them. So I'm most excited to look at some of the notes from the ones I didn't attend. Um, and they had a lot of Whatnot employees leading the discussions, but they also had a lot of Whatnot sellers there who were part of who were speakers or contributors to the different classes, which was good because I feel like even though they encourage Whatnot employees, good morning, Faye West, to be sellers as well, they don't have the exposure that, actual big time sellers have to the whole process. And so, they had a lot of big sellers there who were part of the presentations. So, for example, Daily Refinement was there and spoke quite a few times. House of Coop was there. They spoke in one of the sessions. Um, let's see who else. Lunar Liquidators. Um, I can't think of all their names right now. Of course, my mind's going blank. Anyway, lots of good big sellers that were able to contribute a lot to the different sessions. So that was nice. And yeah, read the show notes. Good morning. And I've got in the show notes those starred bullets. So let's see, 6 starred bullets that you can go to that take you to the official links to the Whatnot Seller Hub, to or the Whatnot Sellers account, the Whatnot app, their official account on YouTube, where you can rewatch any of the videos that they've put out on the Whatnot Seller account. Seller Academy is super important if you're new because you can go through all their little tutorials about all the basics of selling on Whatnot. So, what Jen said yesterday morning was dead for me, at least 2 raid trains going, but came back on last night and had a good show. Yeah, this time of year, you're going to have to do stuff like that. It's just, there's graduations, there's people leaving on vacation. There's, just all that kind of stuff going on heading into the summer break. And it's hit and miss. It's hit and miss. You just don't know, what your regular time just may be dead. You might have to switch it up. You might have to do more shows than normal to reach your goals. You just have to do lots of things to have it, make sense. during this time of year. So hopefully, just be flexible and, do what you have to do to make things work. And I will say that curated shows, what does that mean? A show where you've specifically put a theme or a type of something together instead of just, you know, here I am and I'm selling this stack of stuff. Have a theme, have a purpose. That's going to really help because then you're advertising more specifically what you're selling. And even if you don't get as big of an audience, because it's the time of year, you will have targeted shoppers who are looking specifically for what you have. So always have, I think that's a good oh, my thing just dropped. My little stand here kind of broke and it's not holding up very. It kind of like just drooped there a second ago, didn't it? I'll have to watch that and see if I can get it to stay. Um anyway, so having a specific, target that you're trying to target your show for will really help because you only need really, a handful of people that want what you're selling to still have a really good show. So be really specific, have pictures in your thumbnail, have a video possibly attached to your thumbnail that shows the items you're going to be selling. So what Jen says, I moved my birthday premium designer show to the first since a lot of people get paid on the first. Have you noticed a trend with that? Yeah, there is an absolute fact that end of the month is slower than the beginning of the month. End of month is slower because people need the money to pay mortgage and rent and all the bills that are due typically at the first of the month. And so they can't spend as much money at the end. And then they're waiting for after those bills are paid and they get paid again before the cash is a little bit more loose, right? You're a military family, and similarly, a lot hold yard sales around the first through the 15th paydays. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's a total fact. I mean, yeah. So I notice that every month, I plan accordingly. I have some of my bigger shows at the beginning of the month so that, and then I do kind of more themed or more targeted or more clearance type shows at the end of the month when I know I'm not going to get as many, not as big of an audience or not as many buyers. So definitely important to remember that. During some times of the year, you may not notice that as bad. Um, end of the year, heading into Christmas, if people have saved up, to buy gifts or they have, money for that, they might, continue to buy through the end of November and into December. But that's for a different purpose. And unless you sell things that are considered gifts, that will still be an issue. Welcome in. Please read the show notes. If you have questions, put them in chat. How does local pickup work? Does it count towards your shipping time? It does not count towards your shipping time. It works with, first, you have to turn it on. So you go into your shipping settings and turn it on. And then if you have customers who live in your local area, when they're in your show, it will show up on the bottom of the screen as an option. And then they have to go into their wallet and opt in for local pickup versus shipping. And you do need to be willing for them to, come and get it from you. And you specify when you turn it on, it has you specify where you want people to come to pick it up. So if you don't want them to come to your house, then you would, put in the Walmart parking lot or wherever it is you want to meet them. And you decide if that's too much of a hassle for you because you are going to have to, arrange to meet them or whatever. So, you decide what it's worth because it does encourage if you have enough people in your local area, it does encourage them to buy more because instead of having to spend that $9.21 in shipping, they can buy $9.21 more in items, so to speak. So you decide what, if that's something you want to look into. I have three regulars that come and pick up. And so, that's kind of nice. And then they technically have 7 days from the time they made the purchase or the time that you've printed. Oh, there goes my thing again. Hang on, everybody. Let me see if I can get this to stay up. I guess it doesn't really matter because you're not watching me anyway, but it's annoying that it keeps sliding. Should have gotten my other stand out. There's a little thing that tightens and holds it in place was doing weird things. And so I think it broke a little bit. All right, let's see if that'll stay. I secured it with the edge of my treadmill here. No, maybe not. Okay, I might have to change stands if it keeps doing that. So after 7 days, do you let not whatnot know they didn't so far it's not forcing anything. Um I did see something that was saying that after 7 days, then it was going to charge shipping and you would have to ship it. But I think it was going to charge it to the seller. So yeah, I don't know exactly how they're going to handle that. So yeah, I would be cautious. Um, make sure that you're only turning it on if you have a couple people that have been asking and you can trust that they're going to come pick it up and you're not sitting on it. So, because I have had a couple people that pick up and they don't pick up within 7 days. It's not forcing me to ship or do anything yet, but I don't know. And you still, as long as you have your 1,000 sales already, it's still, you know, it's still paying out for me immediately. You're not waiting for them to pick it up to get payout. So it just depends on where you're at with sales. I would just be careful. But you can go read in the terms of service local pickup because it does say that in there that they're supposed to pick up within 7 days. Um, But I have one customer that hasn't, she'll let a few orders accumulate before she'll come pick up, and it hasn't forced anything. So I'm not sure if that's something that it just says, but they're not enforcing it yet. So anyway, yeah, because it does say that. And someone was saying it said something about it forcing them, forcing a label to get printed, but I haven't had that happen yet. Welcome in, welcome in. How's everybody today? Read the show notes. Um, yeah, so and technically, it only is supposed to show that local pickup option to someone who is within your geographic area. But I did once have someone somehow manage to pick local pickup, and I live in Utah and she was in Florida. And I was like, how did this happen? And I never got an explanation for it, but I haven't had that happen since. So, because I was like, I don't know how that happened. So, I think it was during the time that they were experimenting with, or they were setting up, not experimenting, setting up the pallet sales people who were all over the country who could have local pickup turned on for anyone who wanted to make the drive and come get their pallet. And so maybe it was glitching that way. I'm not sure. Oh, you've seen it pop up on my shows and you're in North Carolina. Huh. Do you see it every time you come in? Like it scrolls across the board? Okay. All right. So no, just you saw it a couple times. Okay. Yeah, that makes me nervous because I'm like, yeah, no. I mean, you would hope, right, that reasonable people would be like, I don't think I can do that. But you don't, but sellers don't automatically, announce where they live. So someone might see that and think, oh, they're local to me. I'll choose local pickup, you know? So yeah, that makes me nervous. And there's no way for me to know as the seller what other people see because you don't see what the buyers see. So if you see that again, let me know because I'll ask. Because I did, like I said, have that happen once where someone in Florida selected local pickup, and then I had to message Whatnot customer service to get a label to ship it to them, and they got away with free shipping. So I just sent you a screenshot of what I see now. Okay. Let me just look because I'm curious. Let's see. Oh, so it does let you check that off if sorry, so it does let you check that off. Okay, interesting. Yeah. So if you don't want to have that possibility happen, then probably you don't want to have that turned on. Like I said, I haven't had a problem with it. But it's good to know. I'm gonna send that in because yeah, it shouldn't even be an option for someone who doesn't live close enough to come pick it up. So they need to fix that and maybe have a different setting for the pallet people where people are driving to pick stuff up. Is that? But it used to have a message that would scroll across the bottom of the screen. So if you're not seeing that, then it's at least not advertising it. And I guess that would be my biggest concern is that, it's advertising local pickup available because it only should advertise it to people who are actually in your local area. Hey, Wild Granny's in the house. How are you today? So, yeah. Um, Does anyone have, oh, let's answer Meryl King. A little bit random, but I love your nails. Is that regular nail polish or do you get them done? They're so pretty. My daughter does nails. And so normally I never have my nails done, but she's home from college and I had her do them. So yeah, she hand paints the little flowers and stuff. Mine are pretty. She does the gel nails where you put a base on and then you use that light. So, yeah. And they're nice. And she does all kinds of fancy stuff for herself and friends and everything. And birthdays and Christmas, she always wants more nail stuff. So, yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, she's a very, very talented artist and does a lot of artwork on nails, but she also paints and let's see what else has she done. She has a couple of pairs of jean shorts that she painted. One she painted a dragon on that goes down the side of the pant leg. Another pair she painted flowers on. Um, and she just has all kinds of medium of artwork. She's just an artist. one of those blessed people with that talent where she can just see and make. So very nice. Yeah. She It's funny though, because when she went to college, I thought for sure maybe she would major or minor in some kind of art. And she said, no, mom, I want art to be my hobbies, the thing that I enjoy, the thing that I can do when I need, to a creative outlet. Because if I make art my job, then it becomes not as fun anymore. And then she said, and side note, because she's very driven, she's like, artists don't make any money. So I'm like, okay, this kid's got her head on straight. They don't make any money. I mean, you can, but then it becomes very stressful because you're trying you know, to do your creativity to make money, and it becomes stressful because you have to make money to survive, right? So yeah, very wise. So instead she's majoring in accounting, and I asked her about that. Good morning, Shelley. And she was like, well, I'm good at math, and accountants are, you can usually get a good job and they make pretty good money, so there you go. And I'm like, okay. She's just a very driven person, so she makes those decisions on her own. So, in fact, matter of factly, when she graduated from high school with better than a 4.0, she says to me, um, I don't know, because people were saying, oh, that's so nice. You must be good parents, blah, 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 all that stuff. And she's like, I did this on my own. And she's right. She's right. Because I did not, she was my kid that I never had to, tell her to do her homework or sit with her and make sure she got her assignments done. Or she was the easiest kid as far as school's concerned. My first did okay. He's one of those butter up the teacher kind of people, be the teacher's pet, get good grades despite not putting in as much effort as he could have. My second kid is a genius, like literally genius, IQ, and hated school and hated homework because everything was repetitive and he saw no value in it. And I had to sit him down and um, explain to him that it was super important that he at least graduate high school. And I had to sit with him and make sure his assignments got turned in so that he could graduate. And so now he thanks me repeatedly. Thank you for making me graduate from high school. Because, I mean, without a high school diploma, it's really hard to do anything after that. So he thanks me for that. But yeah, so I had kind of the totally three scenarios there. Yeah, mom struggles, exactly. So, but yeah, she's my kid that I didn't have to do any of that with. So, and my last kid, how lucky was that, right? I didn't have to go through that with my last one. Welcome in, welcome in. How's everyone today? So, we kind of got off track. What do you need help with? Oh, aside from fabric, nail polish is my next obsession. How's that for a mix, right? Because I mean, working with fabric, I always get my hands all messed up. Oh, we just got a raid, just vintage fabric. Thank you so much for the raid. How are you this morning? Here is Jess. She has the cutest aesthetic. She's a Louisiana Bayou girl, and she just has the cutest, funnest stuff. And tomorrow she's doing junk journal kits. You can see there on my screen. Make sure you give her a follow and bookmark those upcoming shows and see her cute aesthetic there with her little old fashioned outfit putting together junk journals. She's a doll. Thank you so much for the raid. Am I ready for the raid train on Saturday? All holiday raid train is what we're doing on Saturday. And I would say Sure. Yeah, I'm ready for that. I've been putting aside the stuff that I want to show. I've got quite a few things loaded. So that's this raid train on Saturday. And I think a lot of people are going to kind of focus on the, is it also on Sunday? Okay, Saturday and Sunday. A lot of people are going to focus on kind of the holidays that aren't really holidays kind of stuff too, like, you know, national, I don't know, what are some of the funky days that we have? Arbor Day, um, National Donut Day. I don't know, things like that. So there'll be all kinds of fun fabrics in there, including, the normal holidays. So come pick up some fun fabrics in that rate train. It should be fun. All right. I'm terrible about mixing holiday stuff into my regular shows, and then I get stuck with a lot of it. So I have to be better about mixing it in. So I'm actually in 3 raid trains where we're doing this one and then 2 others that are all Christmas a little bit later in the summer. And I'm always excited for those because then I'm like, okay, I can actually focus on that and get some stuff out of here because I have lots of cute holiday fabrics, and then I'm terrible about remembering to mix them in. All right. What does everyone need to talk about in regards to the 921 max? Yes, 921 is reached at the 1 pound mark. But is that only for flat rate or also for regular priority? It's also for regular priority. But if you have your shipping settings set for regular priority in the 1 to 5 pounds, then once it hits 5 pounds, um, then it starts charging additional for the next rate if you have it set for regular priority and then ground advantage. If you have it set for priority 1 to 5 and flat rate 5 and over, it's actually probably going to unbundle at 5 pounds and then start calculating another 921 for a flat rate box. So either do flat rate, or priority ground advantage so that it doesn't, charge them again. I'm sorry, this is so annoying today. My little stand here is broken. I think I'm going to have to get a new one here because it keeps sliding down. All right. So, yeah. So make sure you have it set for the, if you truly want them to only ever have to pay 921, you need to have it set for 1 to 5 pounds flat rate and 5 pounds and over flat rate. And then it will just bundle everything they buy into a flat rate. And then on the back end, if they buy too much, you can put it into 2 boxes and use one of your 5 free adjustments per week to unbundle it. So, let's see. I have both over 1 pound and over 5 pounds of flat rate, but last time when I turned off the flat rate to use regular priority, it said I was short. I'm not sure what you mean by it said you were short. Because if you turn off the flat rate, oh, on the back end, you turned it off to ship one of your packages. Yeah, because if you turn it off because you want to ship it in a bigger box, then you use one of your adjustments or have to pay the difference because the rate is different when you turn it off. Because priority over 5 pounds is more expensive than flat rate because it's calculated by weight. So it depends on the weight of the package. And even if even if you calculated when you actually weigh it that it was less than 5, unless you update the weight in the listing, it's going to charge you for the priority over 5 pounds, which is more than 921. So, what did the package weigh? If it was technically under 5 pounds, then you could just put in the weight on the listing and it shouldn't have charged you the adjustment. See what I'm saying? So you got to make sure that you change the weight in addition to turning flat rate off. So anytime that you turn flat rate off, you need to put in the dimensions of the box and the weight, because that's how the rate is calculated. And so, it calculated whatever you sold it as, but then if that was over what the actual weight was, when you actually weigh it, you need to change it in the listing, or especially if it's over, if it's more. So I know it's hard to calculate exactly because, when you're selling something like fabric using ranges of weight, you usually end up being over what it might actually be, but sometimes you're under depending on how you sold it. So you just got to be careful on the back end and weigh your packages before you send them out. So, and now that they're going to start charging us, I heard June. I haven't seen an official date that they're actually going to start charging people for those um, post office adjustments, but make sure the packages are the correct dimensions and weight other than flat rate. On flat rate, all you have to do is choose the box off the menu and it automatically fills in the dimensions. And then the weight doesn't matter, and that actually disappears when you choose the flat rate box, because the weight doesn't matter up to 70 pounds. So as long as whatever you sold it as is showing under 70 pounds, it's going to automatically just be like, okay, flat rate box, boom. But if you turn flat rate off or you're not using flat rate, you need to be filling in the dimensions of the box and the weight of the box or package before you send it out. It's got to be accurate. The weight is the most important right now. They aren't going to check dimensions and charge back adjustments on that yet, but they hinted that that will be coming as well. So you've got to have the accurate dimensions and weight of your packages as they go out if you're not using flat rate. And honestly, unless you sell hard to ship items, you're selling vintage, you're selling glass, you're selling delicate breakable stuff, why wouldn't you be using flat rate? It's free to get the packaging, and it's the best way to give your customers the best bang for their buck on shipping. And I know that there are limited options, and I know sometimes people buy more, but that's a good problem to have. So set your pricing, set your shows so that that will work for you. Be smart about how sell, so that people get the best shipping rate and you as the seller get the free packaging, the whole, everything works for you in that regard for the best deal for you and your customers. So that's why I always, my methodology is based on what you sell. You need to figure out your shipping. So I just pinned that choosing basic shipping settings guide. Make sure you read through that if you haven't already. I thought that once you hit the 921 max, then the postage was covered, whether it's flat rate or regular priority in the 1 to 5 pounds. Well, if you stay in under 5 pounds, that is accurate. But if you have it set at priority instead of flat rate on 1 to 5 pounds, if you keep selling and they keep buying and it goes over 5 pounds, then it flips into the next rate. if you don't have it set for flat rate on 5 pounds and over. So yeah, you've got to have flat rate set on both 1 to 5 and 5 and over if you don't want it ever to go outside that 921 flat rate. So yeah, that is how it works. But if and I can't picture why you would want to use 1 to 5 pounds priority and 5 pounds and over flat rate. To me, that doesn't make sense unless, I guess if you had, you know, the thought process is if they buy over 5 pounds, I want it to unbundle and then put it into flat rate. But that doesn't make sense to me from the perspective of what I sell. So, yeah, you should have it set for, either priority 1 to 5 pounds and ground advantage 5 and over if you're not wanting to do flat rate packaging because that just doesn't work for you. Otherwise, it should be flat rate on both 1 to 5 and 5 and over. Because that's what makes sense. For dimensions for regular priority, how would you tell the system you're using a mailer? Does it just have dimensions for a box? For regular priority, you're going to put it in. So when you turn flat rate off, then you need to change that 12 by 12 by 12 to what the actual box you're using is. So, because it doesn't have those listed, you have to put it in. So, like if you're using the regular priority box, that's the large mailing box that's priority, but not flat rate, you would put it in. Oh, and a mailer, same thing. So you're just going to put in, if you're using like a poly mailer that is, 12 wide, 15 long, and then when you packed everything in there, it's about 3 inches thick. So you're going to put 15 by 12 by 3 in the dimensions. And then you're going to weigh it and you're going to put in the weight. So that's, because then it's going out with a priority label on it, but you've got the accurate dimensions and weight in there. And if it's under 5 pounds, it will still be at the 921, as long as, you didn't put anything in, if it's as long as it's under 5 pounds and the dimensions are still within the 12 by 12 by 12. So any combination of dimensions, as long as it's less than what 12 by 12 by 12 is, which is 1,728 cubic, whatever that measurement is, inches, then that is allowed. So you could have a package that is 12 by 15 by 3, and that's still smaller than 12 by 12 by 12. See what I'm saying? So in that range of 1 to 5 pounds, you have to stay within that 12 by 12 by 12 or less. Let's see. Tinsley. Sorry, I joined late. We should use flat rate for everything is basically what I'm gonna. Well, no, it depends on what you sell. So see how I have that document pinned that says choosing basic shipping settings? It's based on what you sell and what's going to work for you. It's what you sell, how much you sell, how, if you sell thousands of items in a show, then probably you don't want to use flat rate because it's going to kill you on the back end on shipping. So it just depends on what you sell, how much you sell, how long you stay on, and how many items you sell per show, that kind of stuff. So if it's fabric and your first show, you're probably fine to have it set that way. Just pay attention to how much people are buying, and if you have, because it is often in the fabric category, it's often the case that you might have 1 or 2 customers that are your primary customers for the whole show, and they might buy a ton. And that's okay. That's a good problem to have. It's just that on the back end, you're going to probably have to unbundle their package into two packages or a larger box that's not flat rate. And then you use one of your 5 free adjustments. So, but yes, flat rate works really well for fabric because you can fit a lot of fabric in a large flat rate box. So, but that's the largest flat rate option. So then if they buy more than will fit in a large flat rate, then you're going to want to, on the back end, they got charged 921. That's great. On the back end, you'll then, unbundle their order by selecting the number of items off their order that aren't going to fit, and then put it in two packages, two flat rates, or you can turn flat rate off and put it in a ground advantage package that you would then put in the dimensions and the weight. And then it will either use one of your free adjustments or you'll pay the extra to ship it to them ground advantage. So, you decide. And if you need to see, how to do that, go to my YouTube account, which is in the show notes. Just last week, we did a shipping show called Don't Sink Your Shipping. And I went through all the boxes, showed you all the boxes, showed you how to unbundle, showed you how to turn off flat rate, stuff like that. So, and there's tons of people doing shipping shows still this month. In the show notes, that link that is right under the first paragraph. See that link right there? Copy that down, and it will take you to a page where you can bookmark all the rest of the shows that are the rest of the month where they're talking about shipping. So if you need shipping help, yeah, go do that. Also, you can go to my YouTube account and watch the Don't Sink Your Shipping show that I did last week on Friday. It was Friday morning of last week. So on my YouTube, I'll show you that really quick. So just go to YouTube. And usually it's best on YouTube to, since I'm not like Mr. Beast or anything, you're going to want to just type in my full name, which is use the ampersand. So at Draz on whatnot, type it in like that. That's my username. Okay, so just search for that. And then you'll see my logo. Oh, whoops, it helps if I type the whole thing in there. You'll see my logo. That's the same logo I use here. So that's my YouTube account. Just click on that. And then here is that Don't Sink Your Shipping show from last Friday. See the little ship in the title. So you can rewatch it there on my YouTube. Okay. And lots of other people have shows. I think what's important about shipping, getting shipping advice on whatnot. There's tons of sellers out there who are doing community, seller support shows. It's important to listen to someone who sells similar items to what you sell. And also, there are big sellers out there who are telling everybody to ship everything at one weight. That is not good advice for a first time seller because you're going to get yourself in trouble trying to do that at the beginning. That's something you might be able to get away with doing when you're a more established seller and you're selling in huge volumes, in a show. But when you're brand new, you need to be accurate. You need to weigh all your items. You need to sell it at the weight that it is, including packaging, so that on the back end, you're not in trouble and spending tons of money trying to get the shipping done. and then you're discouraged because you lost money or you barely made any money, stuff like that. Hey, Tripwire with the raid. Thank you so much for the raid. Let's see who Tripwire is. Tripwire is Larry, who is a small town Lego resale store, hoping to make it a breakout into a brick and mortar eventually. So, Legos, thank you so much for the raid. Let's get Larry on Tripwire followed. And please bookmark their upcoming shows. I'm scrolling through on the screen. Let me make sure you can see. So, everyone give Tripwire a follow. Brand new seller, 168 items sold, and trying to make a go at it. And Legos are very popular, so that's exciting. Welcome and best of luck. Please, everyone, give Tripwire a follow. Thank you for the raid. You are so welcome. All right. Yeah, so we're kind of talking shipping. That again, that link that is in the show notes under that first paragraph, it will take you to a link where you will see a bunch of shows, their thumbnails, and you can just bookmark them all and see the rest of them that are the community host shows that are scheduled for the rest of the month where they're talking about shipping. Because it's really important to listen to advice about shipping from someone who sells similar items to what you sell and is talking to you from the perspective of a new seller. Because these big sellers that are telling everybody to sell everything at the same weight and stuff, it's just not good advice for new sellers. You've got to figure out how things are going to work before you do anything like that. And honestly, with the adjustments they're coming out with to charge back to us any adjustments from the post office, I would say that's a really bad idea overall, because you're going to have to really scrutinize it on the back end, and you're going to find yourself paying a lot of extra if you didn't sell things at the accurate weight from the beginning. All right, Scaminati, I would be planning on doing all crafty things, fabrics, destash in my crafting room, and maybe some other items depending on how things go. All right, well, welcome in. Someone who hasn't started, oh, I missed part of it. Someone who hasn't started selling it but has thinking about it, what would be my starting point, or where should I start? What do you mean, where should you start? If you have a bunch of stuff that you want to just destash, that's where to start. And honestly, when people ask, how do I start? You just do it. Apply to sell, get approved to sell, make sure you know how to do shipping, and then just start going live and selling. But in the show notes, the third star bullet is selleracademy.whatnot.com. Anyone can go use that. It's out there. You don't have to already be approved to sell. Just go there and go through all the tutorials to learn how selling on Whatnot works before you go live. And then I also think it's really good advice to do what are called private shows before you actually go live to the public, so that you make sure you know how to run a show, and you can even sell some things to your friends and family that don't live in your same house and ship them, so that you learn how shipping works. So when you schedule a show, you can schedule what's called a private show, and then you send a link to that show. You share that show with a link to your family and friends and invite them to come, and then they can tell you that they can hear you, they can see you, your sound is good, your lighting's good, your internet connection's fine, or it's not. They can give you all that feedback, and then you actually run auctions as if it's a real live show, and because it is a real live show, and sell some things, and then you can do the fulfillment and everything. And then you know how it all works before you go live to the public. And, you don't have any, hopefully, you won't have as many issues the first time you go live because you've practiced selling. Okay. And I have in my, let me just pin this. This is my top 10 tips for new sellers that I just pinned. Tap it again, take a screenshot. It's just the overall tips of what you need to do when you first start selling to make sure you're on a good trajectory. I cannot guarantee you success. Success depends on you. Success depends on your efforts. It depends on your willingness to put in what it takes. It depends on a lot of other factors, including your ability to hold an audience, get an audience, keep an audience. It depends on what you're selling, making sure that there's a demand for what you're selling. Um, because no matter, well, actually, I'm not, I'm going to take this back. If you're really good at bringing in an audience and really good at selling, you can sell almost anything. But it is better, obviously, to have products that are in demand. Because there are sellers on here who I would consider celebrity status sellers. They can sell almost anything because people buy from them just to buy from them. But not most of us are not that way, but so you do have to have products that people want to buy. But there are definitely methods you can use to make what you're selling more attractive, more desirable, but make sure what you're selling is legit, meaning you aren't selling anything counterfeit, you aren't selling garbage, that you are delivering what you showed. Don't be a scammer. Show one thing and send something different out. You'll get shut down really fast. So obviously all those things, right? But as long as you have a presence to go live, people are, you know, enjoy being in your shows, want to stay in your shows, and are excited about what you're selling, there's no reason you can't be successful on this platform. But it is a lot of work, and it's a lot of brainstorming, trying to figure out what's going to work, what time's going to work, how to do your shows, all that kind of stuff. And you have to be able to pivot when whatever you're doing isn't working. You have to try different times of day, different days of the week. You've got to really put in a lot of effort to make it work. If you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, you don't have what it takes, it's going to be a tough road. It's going to be a tough road. So this is not a get rich quick platform. You do have to work really hard. Trust me, all the big sellers who are doing like phenomenally well on this platform have worked their butts off to get where they're at. Ask me how I know. I work a lot of hours all week, and I'm not by any stretch, a big seller on the platform. I'm still small potatoes, but it's a lot of work. You've got to put in a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of brain energy into figuring out what's going to work, how it's going to work. Once you have that figured out, you still have to keep figuring it out over and over and over because people get bored and look for something new. So you've got to be constantly adding new things, adding new features, adding new products, adding new ways of doing shows, adding new types of shows, having fun. This platform is just as much about entertainment and social media as it is about selling products. So, you know, but can you be hugely successful? Holy crap, yes. Like so successful you won't believe. Um, I mean, I can't believe that my husband and I make a full-time income selling on Whatnot, and a really good income selling on Whatnot. It's like I pinch myself regularly that we get to do this. It's so much fun, and it's so flexible, and it's so rewarding. And I meet amazing people, other sellers, customers, on the platform that, you never necessarily get to meet them in person, although some I have. Um, and I've made all these best friends all around the country, and it's just a blast. Yeah, and I'm having a blast. I love it. I love it. Is it challenging? Are there days where I don't feel like doing it? Heck yeah, but compared to getting up and getting dressed and driving, commuting to a job that I hate, I mean, hello, I would take this every day of the week. So we sell in fabric crafts and, similar categories. So that's what we do. But everybody has to find what you are passionate about, what works best for you. Don't pick a category and think you're going to be able to sell in it if you don't have any experience in it or any passion for it or a desire to have a passion for it. Pick something that you love, so that you're going to be authentically knowledgeable, passionate about, enjoy, because that comes through. That comes through big time. If you're just on there trying to hawk things and you don't really have any, other than trying to sell something, you have no knowledge, no passion, no excitement about what you're selling. The wife is doing thrift clothing, and I'm focusing on fishing for that reason. Exactly. So you picked something, that makes sense for you. And I think that's probably a really good niche category, because there's a lot of people who love fishing and the really fancy lures and all that. I don't know enough about. I have a brother-in-law who's like a brother-in-law and his son who, if they could fish every day the rest of their life, they would. And so I know that there are some people that are very passionate about it. And if, it really doesn't take as big of an audience as you think you should need to have to get to do really well. You just need enough customers who are in a niche category that will come to your shows regularly and buy, and you can do very, very well. And the platform is growing exponentially as far as the marketing efforts that Whatnot's putting in, the word of mouth, and everything, that we're getting just new customers constantly. And so, it gets out there. And I've noticed a trend too, because I'll have a show where I'll have a new customer, and then within a few shows, I'm finding um, people that live in the same city. And I'm like, word of mouth. Sarah told Mary, who told Betty, and they're all in my show buying fabric the next week. So it's amazing. It's awesome. Sometimes they don't tell their friends because then they're worried that it gets bid up too much. But I would say in the fabric community, everybody tells everybody, because they all want good deals on fabric. So yeah, so it is getting out there, and you need to do your part as a seller and really promote on social media, because that does make a big difference too. Because if all sellers are on social media doing good social media content, sharing shows and sharing what you sell, it helps all of us because it brings people to the platform, and we need, constantly need new customers. It is a very addictive type of shopping, and people sometimes get to a point where they're like, I can't buy anymore, and they have to kind of not open the app for a couple of weeks, and you need someone else buying that replaces them. So we constantly need a new influx of customers. So you need to do your part and really promote on social media and in everything that you do. Tell people what you do, tell people what you're selling, where you're selling, invite them, send them links, all the good stuff. And it just collectively helps the entire platform to grow. We want the entire platform to grow. We want all sellers to be successful. Everybody who's willing to put in the work, put in the time, can be successful. All right, welcome in. I saw a buyer using Whatnot credits for purchases. Guess I'm missing out on this. Yeah, you need to be sharing. So when you're in your profile, let me show you where that's at. When you're in your own profile, see the little share thing up here. You can just click that and you can share your link to your show right out of, or to your platform right there. But then also in seller, is it in Seller Hub? Where is it? I always forget where they put it. Let's see. Where is the link for inviting? Oh, here we go. Promotions. Invite a seller, refer buyers. So in seller tools under promotions, right there, you can invite sellers, you can invite buyers, and just share that on your social media with your link, and it will bring in people to your shows. The other thing you can do is you can multicast. So right now, this show is being multicast on both Facebook and YouTube. And I organically get new followers pretty regularly who come in from my links on multicasts from YouTube and Facebook. And they sign up, and when they sign up, it automatically follows you. And then if they make a purchase, you automatically get $5 once they've completed their first purchase, and they get $15 free to spend. So you definitely should be sharing that, because, yeah, you can get credit to buy stuff. So it is cool. I don't get a ton, but it's very organic. I just multicast. And then when I share shows and links on on other social platforms, if they click that link and sign up, you get credit for it. So very cool. And you can see in there when you go into that, let me go back in there. So when you go into that refer buyers, it will show you your history. So here's the referral for referring buyers. There's a link right there where you can see your view buyer referral history. And it will show you who signed up through links and, when you got credit for it. So, yeah, you should definitely be doing that. All right, I've got a busy day coming up. I need to go. Does anyone else have, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything, any questions? Yeah, I don't see any other questions that I missed. Let me know if you have any questions before we go. And yeah, if you need help with shipping, please go to the Seller Academy, go through their tutorials, but also follow this link that is that underneath that first paragraph, and it will take you to all the community support shows that are doing seller chats this month for the rest of the month that are about shipping. So there's a group of us, about 35 to 40, I don't know what the count is exactly right now, that are part of a community host support team. And we aren't paid by Whatnot. We aren't affiliated with Whatnot. We just are part of a group of sellers who have agreed to work with Whatnot, and we have a direct link with the community support team at Whatnot. We communicate with them, and they have us do a once a month themed show on a specific topic. And this month it was shipping. So we did a shipping show. And these are trusted sellers that Whatnot has invited to be part of the community host group. And so that link will show you the rest of any of the shows that are available for the rest of this month on shipping. So make sure you follow that link and go bookmark any others. There's some amazing sellers on our community support team. It's a privilege to be part of that group. And yeah, trusted sellers. You can trust that the advice that they are giving is not going to be fishy, weird, um, you know, cringy, bad advice. These are all trusted sellers who have, good ratings, good, a ton of them are premier status. They're not schlubby sellers. So thank you so much for being here. And let's go find someone to raid. Andy, thank you for being here. Wild Granny, everybody have a wonderful day. And please bookmark my upcoming shows. I have a private estate sale today. And tomorrow we do our home decor fabric shows. Actually, my favorite show because I love the fabrics in that show. We have bougie high-end designer home decor fabric samples that we sell for people who like to make things out of rescued fabric, upcycle into bags, clothing, all kinds of crafts, junk journaling, and the fabrics are amazing. Oh, what goes around? Good morning. How are you? So, yeah. And then Saturday, that raid training that is going on, the all holiday raid train. Let me show that again really quick. Saturday and Sunday. And it is hosted by What Goes Around, who just popped in, and also by Beth Ann and Andy, who's here. So make sure you have this show bookmarked on my or on my profile, but also please go type in all holiday raid train in the search bar and bookmark all of the sellers who are on that raid train. So you're good. You're at a fabric warehouse. Ooh, I'm jealous. I want to be there. That sounds better than what I'm doing. Any day of the week, fabric warehouse sounds good. All right, let's go find someone to raid. Let's see who is live. What fabric warehouse are you at? Is it the one in what state is that one in? Indiana, I want to say. Faust. Okay, yeah, I've heard of that one. I want to go. All right, here we go. Creating a raid. Let's go raid over into Charms Creations. She's doing scrapbook and journal. She's got 6 people in the house. Let's go give her some love. Shannon, a darling seller. And here